Hi, this is Eng of Old Capital. I'm here with Ron Rossi of Juniper Square. So, Ron, thanks for jumping on and appreciate you coming on to give us a little bit more of your background and then also sort of what you guys do. So, maybe to kick it off, give us a little bit about you and how you got into the space.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me today, James. Hey, everybody. I'm Ron Rossi. I'm the Senior Director, Head of Partnerships and Alliances at Juniper Square. And my background spans 20 plus years in commercial real estate and finance, with the last 13 years being on the software side of the business. So really helping to provide GPs and LPs in the commercial real estate space, as well as some other asset classes with a software platform in Juniper Square that helps them better manage their back office and their investor base.
So, how did you get involved with Juniper Square when you first started?
So I first started with Juniper Square because I've been in this space, in the technology space, and being in commercial real estate, I understand the problem that Juniper Square is trying to solve. And the problem is data is in all of these disparate systems. It's very difficult to deliver transparency to your investors. Very difficult to make decisions when your data is in disparate systems. So I recognize that problem within the commercial real estate industry. Have worked with a lot of GPs that have experienced this, and then on the flip side, the GPs have their limited partners, their investors, whether they're high net worth individuals, family offices, or institutional investors. Those investors want to know what's going on with their investment. They want transparency. And for me, I lived through the downturn and worked in commercial real estate and finance in 2008. And that was one of the biggest pain points. Everyone was trying to understand just how bad is this thing? Is there going to be a capital call? If so, how big is it going to be? What is it going to be for? How are we going to get through this downturn? What does this look like on the other side? And I think investors today are apprehensive about not understanding what the status of their investment is, because a lot of them went through that downturn in 2008. So I'm really trying to be able to deliver that transparency to investors so that all of the stakeholders in the deal have a really good understanding of the current positioning of any one of their investments.
So, a lot of the investors we work with are sort of in the multifamily space. Maybe walk us through what some of the clients that you guys have had do. Sort of what did they do before Juniper Square, and what do they do now with Juniper Square?
Yeah, great question. And multifamily has certainly been one of the hottest asset classes, and across our portfolio, it's one of the largest asset classes in concentration. And that's due in large part because a lot of investors and GPs have moved into that space, and there's a lot of capital, debt and equity that has been invested in the multifamily space. For us, it seems as though commercial real estate operators manage their business in spreadsheets. So what we often see is, for every deal that a GP has, there's a spreadsheet. So they get ready to start underwriting a new acquisition, a new apartment complex. They're going to open up a spreadsheet or save the previous deal as that new spreadsheet and start doing that underwriting to figure out whether or not the deal even makes sense, and how they're going to size that deal and what the acquisition cost might be. Then they go to that next step and they try to figure out the capital stack. If they can get 70% loan to value, and it's a $10 million deal, well, now they know they need to raise $3 million of equity. So they start to shape that capital stack on the debt side and on the equity side. And then most of our customers are engaging their investors through emails or phone calls to try to gauge whether or not there's interest. So that's kind of the pre-Juniper way of operating. And you can imagine in that mode of operation where you've got different spreadsheets, it's really hard if someone asks you a question, how are we performing on those 5 assets that we have in Dallas, Texas? Well, give me 2 hours and let me go open up those 5 spreadsheets and figure that out. With Juniper Square, we digitized the entire capital raising process. So post deployment of Juniper Square, our GPs are able to start to figure out what that capital stack looks like in real time, where they can start to soft circle commitments from their equity providers. All of our GPs can put up a deal room. So they have all of the information about the investment they're about ready to make. They can share that with their tier 1 investors, all of their investors, prospective investors. And we take that entire process of doing the due diligence around a deal. And then ultimately the entire capital raising process is done in Juniper Square. So all of those investors will have access to that deal room. They're able to do their due diligence, commit to the investment, execute all the documents online, and ultimately make that investment with the GP, and then have that ongoing investor platform where they can view all of the information about the investments they've made with that GP.
So there's multiple systems out there for general partners. What would you say are sort of the main differentiators for Juniper Square versus the other ones?
Yeah, so great question. A few main differentiators. One, I'll just tell you that the company, the leadership, the vision of the company and the team that Juniper Square has built is best in class. And we have been focused on delivering this purpose-built software for the real estate industry since 2014. So a couple of things that really set us apart. One is the CRM. The CRM is really powerful. Most of our customers are spending a lot of time in there across their entire organization, from investor relations to the C-suite to the acquisitions group. So the CRM is a really powerful tool. And then certainly the investor platform. Our customers are engaging their investors, and they're able to deliver information, data, documents securely through that investor platform. And it starts to give the investor a sense of comfort that the GP really has a handle on the business and the investment, because they're able to see everything that they want to see and access all their data in that investor platform. There's also the ability to raise capital. So again, digitizing the entire capital raising process. Post-close, there's the waterfall engine within Juniper Square. So our customers are able to run those waterfalls and calculate distributions for their investors in a software, as opposed to doing that in one-off spreadsheets.
All right. And then like in terms of, is there any, I mean, you don't have to give the client name, but any sort of case studies or anything that you've seen sort of after someone has worked with Juniper Square, whether it was timing, whether it was ease of transaction? Do you have any sort of stories or anything that you could share about once someone sort of joined Juniper Square and started using it, what that saved for them in terms of whether it was time or just ease of transaction for their investors?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely have a couple of good examples, and I'll just let everyone know that the Juniper Square website, so www.junipersquare.com, has a wealth of information. And we do have some of those case studies out there and some videos and testimonials from our customers. But I can tell you that when I'm out there talking to customers, a lot of the feedback that I get from them is the efficiency, the time that it saves. So again, thinking about raising capital, they're able to do that online in Juniper Square, and they can send that prospective investment out to as many investors as they want, as opposed to doing that in a one-off basis. So they save a ton of time on the capital raising process. And it also creates a little bit of scarcity when those investors get that message that there's a new deal in their deal room with that sponsor. They're going to move pretty quickly to decide whether or not they want to make that investment. So a huge savings in time. And we definitely have a lot of our customers that say they can raise capital much faster, which ultimately lowers the cost of capital. And then the other big area that our software helps GPs with is de-risking their business. So just think about the workflows within Juniper Square when it comes time to deliver K1s to your investors, rather than getting all those K1s and having to send those out to each one of their investors, either via mail or email. There's a lot of risk that goes with that today. We've heard about a lot of data breaches in all aspects of technology, and it's really dangerous to start delivering K1s and that type of information to investors. So just by virtue of using Juniper Square, you've got some risk mitigation within your business. So you save not just time, but you're also helping to mitigate some potential risk for you and your investors.
And so I didn't prep you for this question, but in terms of COVID, how has COVID changed the business?
That's a great question. Yeah, it's when COVID first started to hit last summer, I think everybody really paused for a couple months, and there was a lot of uncertainty about what was going to happen in the market and certainly in multifamily. But thankfully, things have been fairly resilient, certainly within multifamily. Occupancy has continued to be really strong. Rents have continued to grow. So we've seen just tremendous performance and a surprising positive performance amongst multifamily since COVID. But one of the things that that Juniper Square has really benefited from, and I think our customers ultimately have benefited from, is that when COVID hit, a lot of GPs, a lot of companies had to work from home. They weren't able to go into their office. And before Juniper Square, you would have all of your information on your server in your closet, in files and drawers, and everybody would have to be in a physical space in order to continue to operate the business. With Juniper Square, having a cloud-based software where all of the information, all of the data is housed, that really gives our customers the ability to work from anywhere and not to have an issue with business continuity. So for Juniper Square, the growth in customers, the adoption of the platform has been just tremendous, has grown over the last 18 months in such a positive way. And our customers are coming back to us saying, without Juniper Square, we'd have had a really hard time running our business and ensuring that all of the stakeholders understood where all of our deals were positioned without without having to go into the office. Everybody can do that from the safety of their home.
What do you see in the next 6 to 12 months for the space in terms of software, in terms of for commercial real estate, maybe specific for multifamily?
Yeah, another great question. I honestly believe that Juniper Square, the software and the services that we are delivering are becoming a must-have for commercial real estate operators and investors. And we hear that not just from our customers, but also from those LPs. An LP, if they are looking at a couple of prospective investments, they're going to invest with the GP that is using Juniper Square. They want to know that when they need to access their information, when they want to see how a deal's performing, when their next distribution comes and they want all of that data and documentation around that distribution, they want to be able to go to a technology platform. They want to see something that is easy for them to use, is as real time as possible. So my opinion is that Juniper Square is going to be a must-have, and certainly for multifamily operators. I think multifamily operators are more leading edge when it comes to technology. They're thinking about technology first at all of their apartment complexes. They're thinking about ways to engage with their tenants. So it's a little bit more ingrained in the multifamily space. So I think as we look at where we're going to grow, the multifamily space is going to be one of the leading asset classes that continues to grow on our platform.
All right. Is there anything else that Juniper Square does besides raising money for GPs and LPs?
Yeah, there are. So Juniper Square started as the software platform. And
right.
Again, we really saw the problem within commercial real estate. So that's what we focused on first. We're now starting to move into some other asset classes besides commercial real estate. So that's really exciting. And a couple of other things that we've added on over the last couple of years is one, an LP investor portal. So think about that LP that is investing across a number of GPs. They want to be able to access all of their investment data for all of those GPs and have a good portfolio view. So we have an LP portal that enables those GPs, whether they're on Juniper Square or not, to be able to upload some basic data into the platform so those LPs can have a view of their entire investment portfolio. The other thing that we've added over the last 2 years is fund administration. So we provide that back office investor accounting and fund administration that we lead with technology. So that's a great service that we're seeing a lot of our customers start to adopt. And as GPs continue to mature and have a track record, we're seeing them move into that fund space. They'll start out doing single asset syndications, but it's a natural maturity to move into having a fund at some point. So Juniper Square offering those fund administrations and leading with technology to manage those funds has been a service that we started about 2 years ago and is growing very quickly and is well received in the market.
Do you guys have a rough ballpark? I don't know how you guys track this, but just sort of amount of money raised, number of deals. Do you have something like that you could share?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are about 1,200 GPs on our platform right now. So again, tremendous growth. There are roughly 21,000 investments that are managed on Juniper Square, and that equates to about 4 trillion in real estate assets. So just an amazing number of assets under management on the platform. And then that dovetails down to about 160,000 investor accounts, individual investor accounts on the Juniper Square platform.
Okay, we should have just started right there. No, I appreciate you coming on. What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, thanks, James. So best way for people to reach out to me is just to shoot me an email. It's Ron, R-O-N, @junipersquare.com.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you, James.